American Vandal Season 2 review. This is the latest entry in the Netflix original series that follows these two young documentary makers in this sort of true crime parody on very serious matters, but they present things in a very comical way. So this is a 8-episode season of roughly a half hour each per episode. The episodes are very structured. It takes you along this journey as they're trying to find out who is the Turd Burglar. So after the first season where they tried to find out who drew the dicks on the cars, which was excellent, really great, funny series, in the style of them being so serious and yet presenting this hilarious material, was fantastic. I really love that one, and I definitely suggest checking that one out because, no, it's a good start, but you can jump into this one without any experience of the series either. You don't need to have watched the first season to enjoy this one, and this is a fine follow-up. It's not quite as good as the original, but it's still at that same level. It has that same theme, that same feeling, but they do a completely different thing. So it's nice that they kind of moved forward and did something new, yet still retain their style. But I still would have liked something a little bit more, I don't know, interesting as to say. So this time around, it's really focused around this event called the Brownout. So after the success of their last venture, they get called up and they're taken to this new place, this new serious sort of Catholic type school, and they need to figure out, you know, who's behind this. There was these laxatives thrown into the chicken nuggets. Not trying to spoil anything, I'm mostly just giving it like initial context so you can understand the story setup for what's going on. I don't spoil anything when I do these types of reviews. It just sort of ruins the experience for when you want to go watch it, if you are interested. So with that, they're coming here, things have already happened, they're trying to get into it, understand what's going on, so they begin interviewing people and kind of getting a connection and a history of this particular school with the pranks and so forth with events like this. But this seems a little bit more vengeful than just being a regular prank. But they really do a good job of looking at it from all angles. This time around, I think one of the main problems I had with it was that when I watch a mystery or something, you know, similar to a mystery, and I get the style of what they're going for with this particular parody of events, I like to be able to sort of pick out who did it or kind of come up with my own ideas along the way. I think that's more interactive for me as a viewer, but I know some people like to just sit back and experience it, you know, all to their own. But when I was watching this, I felt like they were very much just leading me along to the points that they were trying to show. It sort of lost that initial magic of, you know, the first season, getting you introduced to these characters right away and then kind of layering it, what happened, and really getting the events going. This time around, I really felt like I was being led along a path with new characters being added all the time. It was a very slow start. It showed the details of the story well. I was like, okay, cool, but then every episode kind of seemed to focus on one or two individuals so that it built a cast slowly over the season instead of giving us a quick look at them, like everybody involved, and then breaking it down afterwards. And I thought that new kind of storytelling didn't quite have the same interest and impact as the first one did. It's still hella funny. It's so ridiculous the type of things they go over in this one, what happens. I also felt it was a little bit less, I don't know, scientific and more logic-based. Last time around they had a lot of kind of math behind things, and they tried to match up times and areas of when things happened and try to get the events in a timeline. This time around it was more like, I don't know, kind of hunches and just basically new information coming to them over time, as opposed to them sitting there and trying to be like, okay, if this was here, this caused that, and we can place these guys based on this time. They still did have elements like that, but they were smaller in scope and they weren't as present. They also seemed to be very minor indications into the overall plot. I thought it was a very modern look at sort of the events that do go on. Not talking about any spoilers, but just sort of the core themes this time around were very modern and younger. I fall in the younger age. I just generally, you know, not that old yet. But I still, I guess I'm slightly out of touch a little bit with just how technology is combined in the general life of individuals as they're growing up now, because, you know, this is a school-based event once again. And yeah, they had some sort of message by the end of it. I thought it was a little bit too much of a commentary on regular life. There's this long spiel they go on at the end. And I don't know, it just kind of didn't come together in such an interesting way as the first season did. I thought the first season was completely original. I had never quite seen anything like it. It was so stupid, but yet so serious, and that's what was great. And they retained that serious style this time around, but they still provide the comedy too. It just wasn't quite as energetic or something. It didn't come together quite as good. I like the style of it. It's very serious. It's well shot. It was very well shot. But they did seem to replay a lot of the same scenes too, over and over, which could get a little bit annoying. And yeah, it was just like I was seeing the same scene replayed and replayed. And they weren't exactly providing new material over it. It was just sort of like a recap, and I didn't like that aspect of it. I want it to be new. I want it to be interesting the entire time. I still thought the general layout of the season was sort of gross, but that's fine, whatever. It's supposed to be weird. That's what they're trying to do with this one. And I'm really interested to see where they take it next time. Because, like, how do you really top these two things as far as stupid and crude and crazy, humor goes? I like the cast of characters this time around, but I feel like they didn't focus on them as much. I felt really attached to the individuals in the first season. You felt sort of bad for them. There was that sense of empathy of these people getting targeted and these bad things happening. Bad things happened again in this one, but it really didn't have the same sort of impact just because some of the material was a bit foolish. I don't know. You didn't feel the same for the characters. You were kind of like, okay, whatever. It just didn't paint a good enough picture of the individuals that were being impacted by these events and what was happening. It was just as serious. Like, despite this being a parody, there are, like, serious elements to this as far as, like, people being put under house arrest or police being involved. It does make a good commentary on the police situation and everything, and they had a nice sense of this being, like, a cover-up event and everything like that. They're trying to get it through quickly, and there is a whole trying to hide the truth, and that stuff's really fun, and I think that's what makes American Vandal so interesting. Definitely just the style of this being something that you look at and you could be, wow, this could legitimately happen in real life, and it wouldn't even surprise you, really. Like it's a joke, obviously, being like a parody to that, but you could literally sit there and question, it's like, something like this legitimately could happen in America. Like, I'm Canadian, but I see the news and everything all the time, and I'm like, this isn't too far-fetched as an actual event that could happen in real life. And then I would imagine there would be somebody like these two, filmmakers that come in and they legitimately do a project like this on it. It's not far-fetched, it's not unrealistic. And that sort of really helps lean into what the show is trying to get across. The message was interesting, and I guess it is sort of a big theme these days. You'll get that as you watch it and sort of the events get unveiled, but you really don't get a sense of what is truly happening until the really later episodes. It's really hard to piece together. If you do figure it out, while you're watching it, that's great. I can't say I was surprised, but I was just kind of like, I thought there'd be more of a tie-in, more strength behind motivations and what was going on. I get what they were trying to showcase throughout this season, but it just didn't deliver fully for me. That's not to say it's not good. It's very entertaining. It's a quick watch and a very good binge. You can sit there and you can just watch it all the way through. No problems. There is a catch-up too if you, don't, you take breaks in between for whatever reason, you weird person, you're not binging your stuff. They do kind of a little bit of a recap, but there is like a cool start at the beginning where they display the new thing. Like, the theme is, you're watching, the setup is, I guess, in general, you're watching the first episode, they stop and they kind of give you this question and then kind of like a hook to keep you going. The next episode starts with that and sort of builds upon what they, discovered, and it leads into that and it goes into the next one, and there's another hook and it keeps you going. This one didn't have quite as heavy of hooks as the first season did, but they were still good and they still kept me going. Easy watch again. Good balance of humor. I think you really have to understand the sort of serious style in this that's supposed to be funny to truly understand and get what they're trying to get, showcase with this one. So yeah, easy watch, really enjoyable. I'd give it a 7.4 out of 10, and you can read my full review in the description below. It is enjoyable. It's a good Netflix original series, and I'd love to see them do more of them in the future, because I do feel that American Vandal is one of their stronger points. It's really perhaps niche, but yet I feel a broad market could easily get attached to this series and really enjoy it like I have. I think it's a great time. Again, not as good as the first season. Definitely check that one out. But it is a good build-up, and I can't wait to see them hopefully do more in the future.